I'm now going to start recording the conference. So let me explain. So this is the conference with Les Cercles des Langues. Before we begin, I will mute everybody because it is a presentation. So that means 5 minutes before the end of the class, I will open the floor to you to ask any questions you might have. So you are more than welcome to take notes, or you can put your questions into the chat. Now, the chat is the third or fourth button at the bottom of your screen. If you would like to put your questions in there, and I will answer it afterwards. Every week we have a new topic. And what I love about these presentations is that it gives us a global view of a topic, and we are allowed to see and we are allowed to understand different things from different parts of the world, different ideas. So that is why I absolutely love these presentations. So we are going to begin. I am going to mute everyone for the moment. And after that, I will open it up again 5 minutes before the end. Okay, so when we are speaking about today's subject, let me start with that. We are talking about the business of dialogue, tactics, and terminology of negotiation. So in today's conference, we are going to discuss 4 different parts: the introduction. We are going to talk about vocabulary and expressions, so useful vocabulary and expressions that you can use when speaking about the subject. We are going to talk about different strategies that you can use, and then we will have a look at the conclusion. I will also be giving you example sentences that would make it easier to understand how to use these expressions. So, let's begin. Our introduction. So, what is negotiation? Negotiation is a process in which two or more parties with different needs and goals work together to find a mutually acceptable solution. It's a fundamental aspect of business interactions, influencing decisions, relationships, and outcomes. And there's a beautiful quote at the bottom that says, "Balance is the essence of negotiation." So we will find negotiation in many parts of our lives. We negotiate a price when we are buying a house. We negotiate our salaries when we find a new job. We negotiate prices of different things. And to negotiate is a very important part of a conversation or an interaction. So knowing how to negotiate is very important. Why is effective negotiation important in business? Effective negotiation can lead to better deals, stronger partnerships, and increased profitability. It is a critical skill for business leaders, managers, and employees at all levels. So, when we have better deals, we have better business outcomes. When we have stronger partnerships, it shows great relationships and great relationship ethics and increased profitability for yourself and for your company. And yes, we are talking about business, but as I have said, there are different benefits throughout your life when you are able to negotiate in a good manner. So let's look at some of the benefits of negotiation. Building stronger relationships, whether it's within business, whether it's in your personal life, you have the ability to build strong relationships when you know how to negotiate. Achieving fair solutions. Why achieving fair solutions? It's because the idea behind negotiation is to give you, yourself in that negotiation, a fair part and the other person as well. So negotiation is the idea that both parties can arrive at a favorable place, a favorable outcome, so both parties can be happy. Avoiding future conflicts. That means because of the negotiation, because of the compromise, there will be no, what we call in English, bad blood. That means there is no conflict in the future. There are no ill feelings for the future because both parties have received what they wanted. Driving business growth. So when we have a good negotiation, it allows the business to grow because that means we are always in a position to create a good compromise for both parties. So these are four of the benefits of negotiation. Let's look at some interesting vocabulary and expressions. So when we are opening the negotiation, the words you choose set the tone. So opening the negotiation or initiating a negotiation, these are the same things. You can use these expressions to initiate a positive and collaborative atmosphere, leading to constructive dialogue. So, three phrases that are quite useful to open a negotiation are: let's find common ground. Where do you think we should start? I propose we begin by. So, let's see if we can use some example sentences. For example, a scenario is: you would like to pay a certain amount for a house, and someone wants to sell it for a different amount, or in a business deal, and no one can agree. So you propose, let's find common ground, or how can we find common ground? It's a beautiful way to open up the conversation. Where do you think we should start? This is an important phrase because it allows the other person to give their opinion and to give their thoughts. I propose we begin by. That also gives you the opportunity to share your thoughts and where you think you should begin. Vocabulary and expressions for making proposals. So, these phrases can help navigate this phase. I suggest that we. Would you consider? How about if we? So, allowing for creative and mutually beneficial solutions to surface during negotiations. So, when you use language such as I suggest, would you, or how about, we often call it the language that is very subtle and it shows tact. So when we say tact, we mean that it shows a kind way of approaching a conversation that will be open for everyone. So we are using polite words, which is the conditional when we think of the English language, English grammar, and we are using language that is suggestive. And I would say, to summarize, very kind. Kind language is always a good way to get someone else to respond to you. Very, very useful. When we are asking for clarification, we could ask, can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by? Or can you provide more details on? These phrases ensure that all parties have a clear understanding, preventing misunderstandings. So a big idea behind negotiation is that we would like the information to be clear and concise. So when that happens, we can ask these questions which will allow for clarity. Okay? Can you elaborate on the idea, please? What do you mean by this part of the deal? Or can you provide more details on this? Again, very kind phrases that use tact and diplomatic language. So we just finished this week, we did a cours collective on diplomatic language. And everything you can see in this presentation uses tact and diplomatic language. When we are making concessions and compromising, negotiation often involves a give and take. So when we say give and take, what do we mean? It means that you go a certain way or you compromise to a certain extent, and the other person does the same. They compromise to a certain extent as well. And these phrases that we are about to read demonstrate flexibility and openness to finding common ground. I can meet you halfway. I'm willing to compromise if. What if we split the difference? So, what if we split the difference is not a very formal phrase, but it often refers to what if we meet halfway and maybe if there's a situation we find a different compromise. Split the difference is actually often used when you are talking about money or when you are talking about figures. So I will pay for this, you can pay for that, and we will split the difference between the two. So it's very, very popular. It's used in situations where we are negotiating for money or we are negotiating for payment of something. The other two phrases, I can meet you halfway, shows that I will come and you as well, and wherever it is in the middle, that is where we will meet. I am willing to compromise if certain conditions are met, is the second phrase. So again, these phrases are used for making a concession and compromise. Closing the negotiation. So concluding a negotiation requires precision, okay? Precision and clarity. These phrases below formalize agreements and ensure clarity, bringing the negotiation process to a successful close. It seems we have a deal. Shall we agree on this? I think we've reached a consensus. I like this language because it shows that we have arrived at a conclusion together. So when we do something together, it's better than me being the principal speaker or the dominant figure in the deal, and it's the same for the other side. So these three phrases show that we share that responsibility. It was both of us, and that is why we could reach this successful conclusion. Strategies. What strategies can we use when we are in negotiation? Now, the first one we think of is preparation. So you need to understand your position and what you are willing to give up. So there is always something that you are willing to compromise on and maybe a little further. So make sure that you understand your position and that what you are willing to give up is clear. Research the other party's needs and constraints. Constraints, another word for this would be limitations, because understanding the other party's needs, limitations, or constraints will allow you to understand how far they can go and how far you are willing to go. That opens up for better negotiation. Active listening. This is very important because we do not only apply active listening to negotiation, we apply active listening to many different parts of our lives as well. And active listening is a cornerstone of effective negotiation. It's also a cornerstone of effective communication. Can we listen with attention? So by paying attention, avoiding interruptions, and providing feedback, negotiators create an environment that encourages open communication. So by active listening, we are able to hear the needs and the wants of the person we are negotiating with. And this allows us to better meet those needs and to arrive at a good conclusion. Building rapport. Building rapport helps create a positive negotiation environment. So what do we mean when we talk about building a rapport? We find common interests. We ask the other person or the people we are negotiating with about their lives, about their interests. And it's often a very good technique to find common interests because that allows you to create a connection with someone. We show genuine interest in the other party's concerns. When we care about the concerns of others, it builds a good rapport. It creates a good connection. So it's important that we show genuine interest. And this is why the research beforehand is so important, because it allows us the room to find out what's important and how do we approach these things, how do we care, and how do we connect. Being assertive, not aggressive. So we stand firm on critical issues, but we remain respectful. Respect is an important part of negotiation because it allows the other party to see that although we have a belief in what we would like, we are still remaining respectful, which again, it affirms that connection and it allows us to close the deal successfully. Know when to walk away. A very important part of that strategy. Sometimes the best deal is no deal. So you have to ask yourself, when is the right time to walk away? By doing your research and understanding your limitations, you are then capable of knowing when to walk away and when to understand that it's no longer the moment to continue. And I feel that we are best suited looking for opportunities elsewhere. And there is no shame in that. Once you have done your best and the other parties have done their best as well, if there's no solution, we need to know when to walk away. So, let's look at a conclusion to today's conference. Effective negotiation is an indispensable skill in the business world. Number one, mastering the art of negotiation is a gateway to building relationships and driving business growth. So, this is what we spoke about in the beginning. It is something that allows you to have personal and financial and business success in your life. Armed with key vocabulary, strategic approaches, and practical examples, participants can navigate the intricate terrain of dialogue successfully. This ensures mutually beneficial outcomes in the dynamic world of business. So, before we have a look at the last part, I would love to recap all of the vocabulary that we touched on. So, for example, when we talking about the negotiation or the opening of the negotiation, we talk about let's find common ground. Very good sentence. Where do you think we should start? And I propose we begin by. Three very useful phrases to open the negotiation. Making proposals. I suggest that we. Would you consider? And how about if we? As I've said, this is a big part of diplomatic language and it is very polite. And we often achieve more by kindness and diplomacy than by other forms of communication. So it's a very important part. Asking for clarification. If we do not understand something, we could ask the other party to please elaborate. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by? Can you provide more details on? Remember that making concessions or compromising are very important as well. So the helpful phrases we could use are, I can meet you halfway on this topic or that suggestion. I am willing to compromise if, and what if we split the difference? For the conclusion of the negotiation, it seems we have a deal. Shall we agree on this? And I think we have reached a consensus. So for the last part of the conference, we always have material that is available for you. So for the e-learning modules, we have a 2, B1, B2, and C1 exercises on negotiation. So as you can see from A1, we start with the A2, the A2 level, and it becomes relatively harder as you progress. So it's a good challenge for you. You can see how far you can go, and it's just a slightly harder vocabulary, and the vocabulary changes a little bit. There is also a very useful article from the Cercle des Langues blog, Manier l'art de la négociation en anglais. And we also have a YouTube video, Comment réussir à négocier en anglais. And that brings us to the end of our conference for the day, but I would love to open the floor to anyone who would like to ask questions. I see we have more people who have joined us, so please feel free to unmute your microphone and ask any questions with regard to the conference. So, do we have any questions? Could you please speak again about building rapport? Absolutely, Gael. So, for those who have missed it, I'm going to go back to the part about building a good rapport. So, when we talk about our strategies, I'm going to, before I talk about building rapport, I would like to highlight the strategies for successful negotiation. So, the first part was preparation. Okay, understanding your position and what you are willing to give up. Then we talk about active listening. So when we are actively listening, it's the cornerstone of effective negotiation, but also it's the cornerstone of effective communication in general. So for Gael, building rapport. Building rapport helps create a positive negotiation environment. So when we talk about building rapport, it's about building a connection with the person you are negotiating with. And the way we build that connection or build that rapport is we find common interests and we show genuine interest in the other party's concern. So, as we both know, building relationships is extremely important. And the way we build relationships will be shown in how the future, how it progresses into the future. So that means if there is someone who can see that you are genuinely interested in that connection, you are genuinely taking the time to remain connected and interested in what they have to say, you are more likely to maintain a lifelong connection with that person for future business deals, for future negotiations, and which could prove very wise and very useful for you. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, so Gael, is that clear for you? Do you understand everything with regards to building rapport, or do you have another question? Wonderful. So, a few things to note on the conference is that it will be available for you, for every person. It will be sent to you just after the presentation or the conference. You will be sent by Le Cercle des Langues. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I think we can end today's conference. So we'll check one more time. Benoit, are you happy? Would you have any questions or comments? Oh, I'm so sorry. It's still muted. Let me try to. I'm going to unmute for everyone. Turn all the mics on. You are more than welcome to turn on your microphone. Benoit.
So, sorry. Thank you. It was very interesting.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you very much. It was very good. Thank
No,
you.
my pleasure. Frank,
Thank you, Chanel.
bienvenue. I can't see, I know that we have Frank that has joined us.
Yes, thank you so much. It was super clear on my hand. So thanks
Was it
again.
something that you think could help you in the future? This kind of negotiation, is it something you would use in your?
Yes, definitely in the at work and in today current days. So
Yes, absolutely. And I see we've got Juan. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I'm so sorry if not. Um, is it something that you think you could use? Oh, mais je pense pas qu'il n'est pas là, mais okay, c'est pas grave. But I'm very grateful. And again, feel free to go over the slides. They will be sent to you after the conference. And you can always have a look at all of the vocabulary and choose what is useful for you. Benoit, I don't know if you are going to be negotiating in Australia.
Yes, I need.
You know, when you are negotiating in Australia, you can use
Yes,
some of the useful tips.
yes. Thank you very much.
My
I
pleasure.
can't use it. Thank you.
Gael, and you, is everything clear? Do you have anything to add?
Yes, it is really clear. Thank you so much.
No, my absolute pleasure. So, everyone, I wish you an absolute